What's up, guys? We're out here on the Oregon coast again, and today we're going to be talking about catching your own bait, specifically for surf perch fishing. So there's a lot of baits you can use, but there's a great one that's one of my favorites to use, and it's right here on the beach, and it's free. So not having to pay for it is pretty amazing. But what I'm talking about is mole crabs, and a lot of people will call them sand crabs, but they're the little funny guys that you'll see burrow down into the sand when the tide's going back. And what I like to do is usually come out and find some of these little pools where the water is left as the tide's going out or the tide's coming in. Now, a lot of the times, if you kind of creep up on those little pools, you can see just the very tip of these sand crabs or mole crabs sticking out, and as you walk up, they begin to kind of burrow themselves back into the sand. But what you can also do is, and I've already caught about 4 or 5 of them just in this tiny little spot right here, is just come into a pool like we're at right now, and we're just gonna kind of start digging through the corners. Now I'm gonna tell you guys this: when you get close to these things, they're gonna move very fast, and they're gonna want to burrow down into the sand as fast as they possibly can. And so anytime you feel something on your fingertips when you're going through, I try and hurry up and get around it, because it could be a rock, it could be a shell, but it could very well be one of these mole crabs that are out here as well. So let's get to it and start finding these guys. So this one would be maybe too small. Usually you want to see a little bit of the orange egg on either side, because that is what the surf perch are really interested in. So we're going to show you guys here. Here's a little baby. And, oh goodness, come here, you. And this one is Big Papa. So if we flip these over, like I said, there's no orange on this guy, but if you flip this guy over and we pull down this, you can see all that orange, and that's what the fish are going after. So what I usually like to do is I'll actually crack the shell by their back leg right there and crack it on the other side as well. What that does is it exposes that orange egg underneath, and it's one of the first things the fish will go after. So if it has a bunch of orange, that's really good. And another thing to point out, you guys, this one is really big. That one's going to be really hard to get hit by a surf perch, considering how small their mouth is. This one might be too small, but I bet you that one would work way better than this big one. And as you can see, it's trying to burrow itself back into the sand, and that one is rather big, so we might just let that one go. There. Oh, it was a sandworm. It's another great one, you guys, to use out here fishing for a surf perch. There it is. If you guys can see that. That is a sandworm, and that is a very good bait. If you guys can see this. That there is a sandworm. Get this down. Got a big thing of eggs in there. So what we want to do is crack off the corner of the shell here, maybe even get a leg with it. So we've exposed the egg on that side. We want to do the same thing on the other side. So now when it's on the hook, you're going to be able to see those orange eggs inside there. So what we're going to want to do, using a really small hook, is we're going to come through, right through these eggs almost. Out the other side. So you can see where the eggs are exposed, we're going to have a nice hook right there. So when they're eyeballing these orange eggs, ooh, here comes the water, we're going to be catching fish, hopefully. All right, well, that's just one way to go out there and get those mole crabs. I actually probably made it look a lot more effort than it actually takes to actually go out there and grab some of those things. It's really easy, so really easy to spot, and a lot of times you can just be standing there, and as the water's receding, it'll expose them, and you'll see them trying to burrow back into the sand, and so it's really easy to grab them and fish with those. One thing I would say though is if you guys are using those, look for like that right size, kind of in that in between of too small and too big, and you definitely want to have that orange egg on there. And if you're casting it, every now and then take a look at that mole crab, and if you see that the eggs are gone on that thing, you might as well swap it up, because I think that they're more about those eggs than they are the mole crabs themselves. So that's just one of those baits, the mole crabs. Obviously, as you guys saw as well, the sandworms that are out there, those are a little bit harder to find, but those are a great bait. Berkeley also makes those as a plastic that are really good for fishing out here. And lastly, probably like the go-to, one of the best things, a little bit harder to find, so a lot of the times you just go out and buy it, but it'll be sand shrimp. And so we actually have some sand shrimp right here for those of you guys that are unfamiliar with sand shrimp. And I want to give you guys a little tip. Let's find one that's a little bit better. These are from the other day. So every now and then you'll see that they've got a monster pincher on them, and even a smaller one. So one of the first things that you want to do when you grab these things and go to put it on your hook is actually grab those pinchers and pull them off. And I guarantee you'll get more bites that way. So just 3 of the baits, you guys, that you can use that are around here that you can go and find yourself and grab and go out and catch some fish with and be successful. And being able to do it and just putting in a little bit of time and effort and not having to spend the money can be worth it. So let's start talking about the rig setups for out here. So when it comes to the rigs, there's multiple ways of going out and doing it, and there's a couple that I really like and I actually prefer to use. One of them I actually use quite a bit, even if I'm going out carp fishing. It's just a great rig for fishing on the bottom. So starting out, since I am using my salmon and steelhead gear, I still have a braid on there, but honestly, like monofilament is probably the best when you're out here fishing on the jetty. But I have that coming down to a slider. We've got a weight on there, and we'll touch on that weight here in a second. We got that going to a bead, so we don't have our slider beaten up against our swivel there. And then I have my monofilament coming down to my hook. Now you can either do a circle hook, or how I've done here, just got a small regular little hook there. So back to the weight though, you guys. People have asked before, and I was kind of curious when I first started, what is the type of weight and the size of weight that you're supposed to use out here? And really it kind of depends on whether the tide's coming, it's going, it's slack tide, how strong those tides are. So I usually try and start between a 1 ounce, about a 1 ounce is what I like to stick with. And if it doesn't seem to be holding where I want it to, I'll up my weight just so I can have better control of where it's at. All right, now the other one's going to be a more simplified, well, this is a simplified version, but I actually think it takes more work and effort to put this rig together. So basically we're going to have our monofilament that's going up to our rod and our reel, and coming down off of that is going to be a 3-way swivel. Coming off our 3-way swivel is just a couple inches and just going to another hook. And again, you can use a circle hook or just use a whatever you guys have got is really going to work. Circle hook is preferably the best. And then we've got it dropping down about a foot to our little sinker weight, but this is just for demonstration, you guys. I really think this would be way too light, but the reason I have this on there is because I wanted to show you guys another good way of getting a weight on there without having to put a swivel snap or something like that on there, because in my opinion it's just more gear that you're potentially going to lose. And so if I get this thing undone real quick. All right, so what we've done here is, pretend that's not there, is we've just did a quick overhand knot down on the bottom to create that little loop there. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down. Now that that's there, we're going to bring it back through the weight, and you can just pull it tight that way. So this way you're able to swap out weights, whether you need to add more weight, you need to take weight away, or you just don't want to hassle with having to lose more gear out there. That is a great way to do it, and it just makes it quick and easy, you guys. All right, guys, well, I think that's going to cover it. We've gone over some baits that you can use and how to find them out here on the coast, and what works good for surf perch in general, and a couple of the rig setups that'll help get you guys started. There are other ways of doing it, but what I'll do for those of you guys that are new to this, I'll put diagrams of these setups up on the website at www.anglingaddictspnw.com, so you guys can see just the layout of how this is done. And let me know if you guys get out here and try any of these rig setups, and let me know how it goes for you. But until next time, guys, tight lines, and we'll see you out on the water.